This is the new one that I want to replace with. This is the factory shock. It's no longer going back up. So like I said, the car was resting on the springs. So, and when I compress the shock, as you can see, it's not coming back up. I have to pull it manually, and it's very difficult as well. Hi guys, so welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna be changing some rear shocks because these shocks, I think they haven't been changed in about 16 years, I think. So this looks like this is the factory shock absorbers that the car rolled out from the factory with, because if I can check them right there, I think I see some part numbers which are the factory part numbers that the shock came with. So I think these have never been changed, not even once. So in 16 years, not changing these has been a long enough time to maybe replace them. And also I think the ride height now has been affected because the car is no longer that high as it was from factory, because now I think the car is resting on the springs, which means that the springs are taking a lot of stress from the weight of the car. So this might need to be replaced, and that's why I'm doing that. So to replace the rear shocks, you'll need to remove the two 16mm nuts which are here. I'm not sure if you can see them. This is the first one, and there's another one right here. So you'll need to remove these 16mm nuts, and also remove this 18mm nut right here, which holds the control arm onto the wheel bearing housing. Then after removing the control arm which holds the wheel bearing housing, then you also need to remove this bolt here. I think this bolt is a 21mm bolt which holds the shock onto the wheel bearing housing. Then this is what connects the shock against the control arm and also against the body of the car. So that's what we need to do right now. So as you might have already seen, I've already removed the wheels, the nuts and whatever. So if you don't know how to get to this point, then that means you should have been doing this job. But if you do know how to get to this point, then you can continue with me. So I'll just be removing this, then go on to this, then get these last bolts out. So this is the same thing that I'm gonna do on the other side. So when you see this side, you're gonna be able to also remove the shock absorber from the other side. So I'm not gonna show the other side, I'm only gonna show this one side. Then you're gonna follow it as a guide to also carry out this job. So yeah, let me just do that. The thing is, you will never know whether you're tightening it or you're loosening it. Okay, yeah, it's getting loose. Now the control arm is now off. We can just move it freely like this. So I've also taken out the spring. Here it is right here. Then what I need to do is just to remove this 21mm bolt right here. So this is the bolt that's holding the shock onto the wheel bearing housing. Then I'm gonna be left with the two upper bolts right here. There's really no space here. Okay, just hold it there. Yeah, I think it worked. Oh, there's no space. But now let me just use this short one.
Wait. If I was with you a week ago, you were fixing something.
Oh, the chain. This car, hey. A chain is a deadly thing to the car. It's an engine component which needs replacing regularly. If you don't replace it.
So what are taking videos?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I upload these things on YouTube sometimes.
To do what?
Just for people who wants to do the same thing so that they can know how to do it.
So what are you changing now?
It's a shock.
You're changing a shock?
Yeah.
It was leaking oil or what was the problem?
It's been the same shock for 16 years, so that's the reason why I'm replacing it. Or it's old.
But how did you feel that it's not?
There's this other day where I was having people at the back and the car is the ground. I think it's this part. And also there are also some coverings underneath, ne? Plastic coverings, yeah. One got off. So here's the shock right now. So the shock is out. Yeah, both the shocks. This is the new one that I want to replace with. So you can see how long it is, and you can see that this is the factory shock, and now it's compressed. It's no longer going back up. So like I said, the car was resting on the springs. So the height that I saw from the car was getting me suspicious, because I know that the car is not supposed to be at that height. So this is the reason why the car was at that height, because now the car was resting on the springs. And when I compress the shock, as you can see, it's not coming back up. I have to pull it manually for it to come back up. And it's very difficult as well. But let me just push it back down. You'll see that it doesn't come back up. So here's the shock. Now it's fully down, not going back up. So this is the reason why I thought these shocks needed changing. And just to confirm the theory that I had, that this shock is the one which the car rolled out from the factory in 2007 with, as you can see, here's the part number. The part number is 1K05120111RR. So this is the factory part. And if you can see maybe right here, I don't know if you can see the VWAG logo. I'm not sure if you can see this. This is the VW logo. This is the part number. So this shock has been here for over 16 years. So I think it's only right that I change this shock. So now I'm gonna get the shock back in. So I had a difficulty trying to get the shock out. So the difficulty that I had when trying to get the shock out was that when I was trying to unbolt this part right here, the shock will then get suspended and also not allow me to unscrew the bolt. So what I had to do is to get a jack to jack up the wheel bearing housing, so that when I pull down on it, it doesn't go down, it stays in place. And I also had to ask my friend to come and hold the choke wrench. Then I was gonna step on it. So when I was stepping on it, it was unbolting the bolt. So now the shock is out. The first thing to do is just to open up this part. When you open it up, you'll see this screw and the bolt. You'll see this and a bolt, so you'll need to counter hold this and turn this bolt so that you can be able to remove the shock mounting and transfer it over to the new shock. So right now, let me just try to hold this part and also unscrew this, then transfer this onto the new shock. That's the problem. I have to keep on listening. Yeah, I think it's fine. I'm just listening. Yeah.
But you know this is
So the shock is in and the shock mounting is on. So what I need to do is to just tighten the self-locking nut, which is very difficult, but let me see what I can do if I can lock this shaft. So now the shock is in. What I need to do is just to put on the cap which goes in here, then take the shock back in. There we go. So my battery died and I don't remember which part it died on. When I checked the phone, I found out the phone is off, so I had to charge it a bit. So this is the point where I got onto. So I've just tightened these two bolts. You need to tighten these bolts to 50 Newton meters and then torque them 45 degrees further. Then I'm gonna tighten this one right now because that's where I'm at. I didn't realize that my phone was off, so this is the bolt that I'm gonna go to. So the torque spec on this bolt is 180 Newton meters. So you'll need to torque this bolt up to 180 Newton meters of torque. So let me just torque it up right now, then I'm gonna go on to this bolt which comes on here. So I'm done tightening up the bolt and I torqued it up to 180 Newton meters. What I need to do now is just to put the spring back on. So you'll need to make sure that this rubber part here goes onto this part right here. So it needs to get in here and sit in there. Then the other part needs to sit on there. So this part of the spring needs to be on here. So this part in here. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I don't think you're gonna be able to see this, but I'm gonna document it while I'm doing it. So yeah. So there's a bolt which goes on the other side. This bolt is a 18 millimeter, just like the one which you're going to use to tighten here. So this bolt goes on the other side, so you're gonna need maybe a socket or a spanner just to counter hold it from turning against the bolt. The bolts are in. What I need to do just to torque them up. So the spring is also in. You'll need to maybe jack up the control arm using a jack so that the spring can be compressed by a jack rather than you trying to compress the spring, because the spring is very having a lot of kinetic energy. So if you just try to compress it by yourself, then you mess it up. It's going to come out flying and you're going to hurt yourself. So safety first. Try to use something which is stable, not your own hands. So yeah, when tightening up this bolt, you need to tighten it up to 90 Newton meters and another 90 degrees turn. So that's 90 Newton meters and another 90 degrees turn. Yeah. So we're now done changing the shock. So here's the new shock absorber. I just replaced the shock absorber, but then I've put on everything that was with the car, because for me these are not way too worn. They can still hold for another 280,000 kilometers. So the main thing for me was just to replace the shock absorber. Now I'm just gonna put back the wheel, so I'm not gonna show that because that's very simple. So yeah, that's how you replace the shock absorber. So if you like this video, then also hit the subscribe button. Then I'm gonna see you on the next one. So yeah, I'm out.
I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay.